Immunohistochemistry, IHC, is a laboratory technique for visualizing the presence, localization, and abundance of antigens, usually proteins, in tissue sections. The utilization of traditional tissue and cell line controls in IHC procedures is deemed unsuitable due to the absence of scientific substantiation and correlation to validate IHC staining. Research conducted by universities has indicated that IHC staining errors exceed an average of 10%. Number 1. Using a tissue or cell line control does not provide scientific validation for the efficacy of IHC staining. It is important to reconsider how a tissue control with color can correlate to the immunohistochemically reaction in the IHC process. Are we trying to find out if the IHC staining positive is a true positive or not? What does the expression of a positive control tissue prove? Number 2. No staining platform is calibrated by the manufacturer. Therefore, no stained result is validated without the right control. Number 3. By law, control material must be a medical device, but tissue and cell line control can never be a medical device because the material used simply cannot be controlled in production. No one can verify the stability of tissue and cell lines before IHC staining. Number 4. The appearance of the color of a so-called specific control tissue has provided no information or control on primary and secondary antibodies captured during IHC. Immunohistochemistry has to be controlled immunohistochemically, not by seeing the chromogen deposited on the control tissue and concluding that the IHC staining is validated. Number 5. Relying on tissue as a control for morphological comparison is a logical fallacy, as no morphology control could exist using non-standardized tissue. Anyone comparing unknown control tissue with the patient sample is unethical, like relying on unknown data for diagnosis. So, relying on tissue or cell line control methods to control IHC staining is not evidence-based, non-ethical, and illegal, and is a logical fallacy. The only economically viable solution to controlling IHC staining is to use PRS, process record slide, for 100% process quality control for each staining immunohistochemically. Widely adopted batch control can never achieve the purpose of IHC control, as no staining platform manufacturer has provided a calibrator and never suggested the calibration frequency needed to ensure each stained slide's validity. Even regulatory bodies recommend using positive and negative control tissue, although it is a logical fallacy control method to control each IHC staining quality. Number 1. PRS constitutes standardized and medical device-graded on-slide process control for each major IHC step, controlled immunohistochemically, not a leap like using tissue control to show the color deposition only. Quality assurance for each IHC staining has to be guaranteed. Number 2. When using PRS, you do not need to change any protocol or SOP for your staining. PRS can be used in all IHC staining platforms. Number 3. Since its invention in 1941, PRS could potentially impact the achievement of quantification and standardization in IHC staining. Number 4. The PRS does not reconfirm antibody specificity. As a process control, it is unnecessary as long as you know how well the immunohistochemistry process is carried out. Traditional tissue control to provide specificity, reconfirmation, requires a Class III medical device registration, which is not likely to be realized. Relying on a non-Class III manually made tissue control for cancer diagnosis will invite a lawsuit if a misdiagnosis is found, because the control tissue can be falsely stained as well. This is due to as high as over 10% staining error revealed by university studies. Number 5. While PRS does not offer a morphology comparison function, a logical fallacy, it does enhance morphological analysis by providing deeper insights into the chromogen present in various locations of the stained tissue. This applies whether it involves a background without immunohistochemistry or true expression with proper capture of primary and secondary antibodies. In summary, PRS presents an evidence-based, standardized medical device control that adheres to legal regulations. This control serves as an on-slide calibrator for IHC staining and has the capacity to supplant all tissue controls. It is essential to assess the typical percentage of IHC staining derived from the conventional control method and juxtapose it with the average 10% error documented by academic institutions. For a marginal increase of approximately 30 cents over the cost of a positively charged raw slide for IHC staining, would you be amenable to discontinuing the use of tissue controls for batch, negative, and irrelevant controls, and instead transitioning to a 100% process quality control? Quality control utilizing a PRS manufactured in accordance with ISO 13485. This proposed approach stands in contrast to the utilization of costly and non-standardized manually prepared tissue controls for IHC staining.